Hello and welcome to a Star Citizen Squadron 42 update for January 2020. I wanted to combine what information we currently have on Squadron 42 Episode 1's progress with their monthly report, Squadron 42 newsletter, for a bit more of a deeper dive into where we are with Squadron 42 Episode 1 and development currently with it. Squadron 42 is currently roadmapped to have a feature-complete beta by the end of Q3 2020, so that would be September 2020, and there has been a couple of leaks from 2019 that suggest CIG are trying to get the game released by the end of 2020, with Mark Hamill saying that Squadron 54 was going to be out by then, although maybe a little bit of a Freudian slip there with the number, and even BBC Click saying that CIG had told them 2020 was the release date. However, there is still no confirmed release date for the game currently, and CIG haven't confirmed anything at this stage to the community anyway. The beta as well is likely to be an internal beta, so not given to the public. Potentially the Eva Carty might get to test that a bit before its release. That's what Aaron Roberts said a few months ago when I talked to him about it. But CIG are currently in scheduling and roadmap meetings, which could see changes to the roadmap for Squadron 42 in the next few days. There were some delays to some of the features that CIG had planned for Q4 2019 to be completed for Squadron 42, that being the Ace Pilot AI, player status system, and improvements to the player interaction system. These features are currently being worked on, but also CIG appear to be reworking entirely, or at least to some extent, the power systems feature. Squadron 42 is, however, making progress with various features that are shown on the roadmap for Q1 and Q2 2020, so there is a lot of progress going on, and they are working on those features that were not completed in time. Squadron 42 was absent from CitizenCon 2019 though, and largely from 2019 as a year. Something I thought was strange. There did also seem to be some ships and media around CitizenCon that maybe implied that they were planning to show something but just didn't get it finished in time. I saw sort of like pictures of the F-8 Lightning and some UEE capital ships at the event, sort of like media and plaques and boards and stuff, that I went, oh, that seems weird that they haven't shown Squadron 42 stuff off. So there are ships and stuff that are more specific to Squadron 42 at the moment anyway. I'm not sure if that's an indication of additional delays, not sure really what it means. In the recent Crytek lawsuit as well, Crytek had implied, in my opinion anyway, I'm not a lawyer, but Crytek looked like they implied that CIG had shared with them that Squadron 42 was a long way off before being released. However, CIG recently confirmed, in some more legal documents, that they had not shared information on the dates of Squadron 42's release with Crytek, only that they hadn't decided on how players would access the game. So whether it was via sort of like the Star Citizen Persistent Universe launcher or not, so maybe it'll be its own launcher, maybe it'll be offline, we don't know yet. We did, however, have a visual teaser at the end of 2019 with some of the various locations and ships that will appear throughout Squadron 42 Episode 1, and even looks at the Vandal Warriors. There is certainly a huge amount of progress on the Acedo Com Array, the Shubin mining facility, which is absolutely massive, the OMC sort of like pirate base. There were full reworks of Vandal ships, bringing them in line with the Blade. We saw the Scythe and Glaive more obviously get this sort of update, because they're ones that we have the old versions of in the Persistent Universe currently. We saw Shipjacker ships. We saw a lot of the scenes for Squadron 42, sort of like areas, gameplay area. Vandal and UEE capital ships are looking like they're almost ready for prime time as well, and the Odin system with the Coil Giant Gas Cloud Nebula is looking very fleshed out now. Let's summarise the latest Squadron 42 newsletter and monthly report though. There has been a lot of focus on further fleshing out key locations and gameplay loops, including improving gas clouds, GPU particle collisions, and some of the other older effects, getting them up to date. They are currently working on Vulcan integration and many optimizations to their engine and renderer. They began implementing the new personal inner thought system. This now radial menu allows player functionality to be accessed more easily, such as taking off a helmet or swapping weapons and equipping weapons. It's context sensitive too, so the options will change depending on the location or available actions. For example, in a cockpit, additional options such as exiting the seat or engaging landing gear might become available. They also added a favorite section for commonly used commands and enabled keyboard button shortcuts to be assigned to any of these commands as well. So you're going to have a lot of ways of interacting with the game if you want to do it diegetically, if you want to do it sort of like very, very immersively, interactively, or if you want to do it just with sort of hotkeys, you can. Regarding melee combat, they are working on body dragging, starting with interacting with the body, repositioning it, and basic player movement with it. They have now finished the temperature system and moved on to thirst and hunger, setting up the initial stats for the actor status system, which we will obviously also see in the persistent universe. Pretty much everything we talk about here, we will see in the persistent universe, other than specific scenes for cinematics and Squadron 42's scenes, if you see what I mean. The display for some of this will be hidden when not in use, meaning that the screen isn't cluttered with things that players don't need to see immediately. So if you don't need immediate knowledge of it, it might not be shown on your UI or HUD. And they've been further improving UIs, continuing to build the final looks of various UI elements, including the visor the player wears throughout much of the game, and target selection stuff. So they're going to have a much sharper looking UI and HUD for a lot of this stuff. As mentioned in the Persistent Universe monthly report, CIG have made progress with AI features like planet-side traversal, AI collision avoidance, social stealth AI, as well as AI movements and perception. Further to that, the space and dogfight teams have progressed with AI behaviors of specific types of ships. Combat maneuvers are constantly being iterated on, while AI awareness of its own ship emissions, remaining ordnance, component damage, etc. is in progress. They're also delivering some of the level prototypes for some exotic gameplay puzzles specific to Squadron 42 that rely on underlying core mechanics. And I'm very glad that they are doing some sort of like in-game puzzle bits. They obviously have quite a cool engine and physics and interaction system, so doing some cool stuff like that will then make it into missions and interesting gameplay in the Persistent Universe as well is very exciting for me. Level designers are focused on FPS heavy sections of the game at the moment, working alongside the various feature teams to make sure AI behavior is realistic in all encounters. Pre-combat behaviors were also worked on, such as patrolling, investigation, and reactions to audio, and sort of like the different way that materials sound and how that affects the way AI respond to it or hear it. They continue to work on narrative interactions, applying additional polish to various scenes in the form of gestures, head turns, eye looks, to make them appear as natural as possible when looking at NPC characters. This ongoing process will take a while to complete, as there are several hours of conversations throughout Squadron 42 that allow the player to feel a part of the world rather than just a spectator. Cinematics have worked on story scene implementation and production quality passes for the camera, staging, and lighting. Most scenes received their third of 4 planned passes. As well, alongside the usual pipeline tasks, they worked on upcoming tech developments, specifically enabling players to interrupt and resume certain scenes and NPC conversations. This also takes into account the player not behaving and approaching the scenes from like different heights or from different directions, or trying to, bunny hop around scenes while they're going on. Blending together the animations without fragmenting them is the idea here. They have been pushing for final production quality of some of the characters. Character art are finalising the bridge officer, using executive officer Sophie Kelly as the testbed for their new skin and hair tech. This led to the prioritisation of scenes where the character and camera move around a lot to test their new temporal anti-aliasing stuff. It apparently gives them the look and feel they want for the game, but it was interfering with eye lights and reflections, so like little glimmers in characters' eyes. So engineering has devised a solution to ensure eye light reflections in character eyeballs are not smoothed out when TSAA is going on. Bright dots are kept alive, which is vital to giving characters an additional flick of life and hopefully trying to get past some more of the uncanny valley type stuff. Currently, characters are lit as if they're on a movie set, is sort of the idea here. Another area that received a quality push was comms calls. Squadron 42 features real-time rendered texture comm feeds from NPCs, so if the player has a comm with Old Man, so that's Mark Hamill's character, if he's in his cockpit, he's in his cockpit, and you'll see him there, and you'll see the what's going on around him. It's effectively filmed live in-game real time. They wanted to determine a gold standard for key videocom partners the player will interact with, including their wing leader, air traffic control, and Idris captain. They have tried to have the NPCs in the best possible area and lighting for those calls, but they're still working out if they want to add other effects and tweak them further, that sort of stuff. Narrative have been building out text requirements for the mission objectives and UIs. They've reviewed progress on various levels and synced with design on an overall game experience. They've been trying to improve some of the background stuff with NPCs moving around and NPC scenes. They've also added moments where named characters interact with random NPCs to create additional character or story flavor. Audio-wise, they've been paying particular attention to the Idris recently, and a logo for an important faction in Squadron 42's narrative was also completed. Probably the Shipjackers or the OMC. And that's it for this month's update. I hope you like the new format for these monthly reports that I'm doing. I'll link my Star Citizen Persistent Universe one down below, as the games are obviously sharing the same engine and assets, and updates to one typically affect both. And at the moment anyway, they're very much part of the same development branch. So if you see the way they sort of like exclude parts or patches, so when you get 3.8.1 or 3.9, that would have come from the same branch, I believe, that Squadron 42 is in, but they sort of like remove all the Squadron 42 stuff and just put the content in that's supposed to be in 3.9, if you see what I mean, before they chuck it down into a build. I am very excited for Squadron 42 Episode 1, and hopefully CIG will be more forthcoming with information on it this year compared to last. But I'm interested to know what you think. Will we see a Squadron 42 marketing campaign start in the next few months, or this year at least? Do you think that's a possibility? Do you think it's possible that Squadron 42 Episode 1 could be released by Christmas 2020? Or is that wildly optimistic? I mean, I think it's possible, but it's extremely optimistic personally, but I'm interested to know what you think. What do you think of progress that's been made on the game so far? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a ship giveaway for January 2020. It's for an Anvil Arrow and Star Citizen game package. Just comment on any of my videos made this month to be in for a chance. More details in the description below. Oh, it's time to shill. If you're looking for a VPN, then consider NordVPN. They have many advantages over free VPNs, but are incredibly cheap, and I use them and can recommend. There's Shadow as well, which is an alternative to owning your own gaming PC. They give you a sort of Windows 10 environment focused on gaming, and it leverages the power of your internet and their cloud so that you can stream it to any device or other PC or laptop or phone or whatever. And you can now order systems with varying scales of hardware for up to 4K gaming, and as always, it works fantastically well with Star Citizen. It's an extremely affordable way to get access to a high-spec PC. Links below to Shadow and Nord, and make sure you use the code BoredGamer to get a discount. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to support my channel further, consider becoming a Patreon or YouTube member via the join button, or sharing my videos, or liking and subscribing. Take care, and I'll see you in the verse.